expiration date of a city. At 18, I knew that I was done in Eugene, charming college town that it was, all mossy oaks, damp sidewalks, loyal fans rooting for the trash fire Oregon Ducks football team. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. 70% of my high school class would go on to the U of O. I didn't even apply. Eugene was a stable, boring place to grow up. The closest to danger I ever got was sitting in the back seat of a friend's car as another friend balanced on the roof 30 miles per hour on a windy country road. I was afraid, but not for long, and my skin tingled and I wanted more, which was impossible in Eugene for a middle-class white girl to find. When I left for a tiny college in the southern corner of Virginia, I knew I was never going back. I spent each school year ensconced behind the red brick walls of Randolph-Macon Women's College. I spent every summer working at an outdoor adventure camp for boys in the mountains of North Carolina. Here's a list, incomplete, of things I learned to love. Lightning bugs, girls, dirt dissolving in the water of the shower after a long day at the barn, going to class in my pajamas, the way the Blue Ridge Mountains actually turn blue in the fall, bouldering with beautiful young men. I didn't miss Oregon, Eugene, or even, honestly, my family that much through no fault of their own. I'd spend a wintry, dark, and rainy month at home between semesters, sleeping late, drinking gin on the sly, and finally becoming friends with my sister. When I graduated from college, I stayed in the South, which I thought of as home. I landed a truly terrible job at a truly terrible Red Lobster in Charlottesville, Virginia, renting a little apartment with Jessie, my college best friend, embarking on a low-wage service life that served me perfectly fine. We met Roger at the Red Lobster, a country boy from West Virginia who fit in with us like a missing piece. And he moved in and out and in again as he cycled through girlfriends within a couple of months. I wanted to struggle a little, make out with pretty girls and pretty boys, and figure out what to be when I grew up. And I was in no rush. Here's a list, incomplete, of things I remember from that time. The moon shining through my unshuttered bedroom window. After a long shift, eating half-priced crab legs and drinking Coronas with Roger in silence. Bartending in a uniform that included a blue shirt covered in bright fish, my body an aquarium. Letting the recycling pile up on the porch for months at a time. The parties. The list of things I can remember is incomplete, but wild we were and mighty, Roger and Jessie and me. Any excuse we'd make trash can punch and Jell-O shots, then throw open the apartment doors. We'd illustrate our white walls with colored chalk, avoid the cops, and apologize to the neighbors the next day. Our dogs ran loose those nights. Those nights, there might be a fight. Those nights, Jessie's ex-boyfriend tried to shove through the door, and my golden dog, Skyla, a 75-pound shepherd mix, blocked his way. Around the time I thought I could live in Charlottesville forever, I started to think I might die in Charlottesville. We never stopped. Didn't want to. We're working too hard to look for another job. We knew the bartenders at every dive. One night near the end, Roger and I dove into the bushes on the mall after he, whiskey drunk, took a swing at a stranger. Near the end, we found Jessie barefoot and shirtless halfway down the block. Near the end, I blacked out, drunk driving on an empty country highway, and came to in time to pull over and survive. When I was sober, I missed writing, missed reading books and talking about them. I was bored and broke and still in love with the Blue Ridge. I didn't know how to get out. I tried managing a women's rugby team. That did not help. I carried on hopeless flirtations with straight girls and old money boys. Same. It was hard to admit that I wanted to go and hard to admit that I needed to. Looking back, I realized I duplicated what I'd done when Eugene hit its expiration date. I applied to school. When I was accepted to the MFA program at SDSU, it was a blessing. I wept as I loaded the U-Haul, and I wept 3,000 miles later as the Pacific laid out bluely in front of me. I had gotten out in time, and at 25 had arrived to a place many spend their whole lives dreaming of. I was never going to leave. 10 years later, I had built or lucked into or was gifted what seemed a stable, happily busy, sun-tanned, and joyful life. My days filled with horses and poems and sandy feet and vacuuming endless dog hair, first Skyla's and then Eli's. My nights filled with gin and football and heated arguments about absolutely nothing, drenched in laughter. I stood on the sand and looked at my friends and my dog and saw the future, building families, vacationing in the mountains, working and writing and loving together. How clearly that future stretched out in front of me, on its way. All I had to do was be here for it. Here's a list, incomplete, of what I've lost since then. The patellar ligaments of my right knee, torn by a fall. A lover, irreconcilable. Those forever friends to jobs in Atlanta and Los Angeles and Seattle and Austin. My job teaching writing lessons, although in fairness, I outgrew the job rather than the other way around. A mentor to gallbladder cancer. $15,000 and 18 months in several attempts to get pregnant, all unsuccessful. And this November, Eli, at 11, to a cancer that had spread quiet through his guts and lungs and bones. It was losing Eli, especially as a person who has measured my life in dogs, that felt like the end. He was my grown-up dog. I thought he would see me into the next phase, whether that was love or parenthood or a bigger house and a better job. Now I'm still in the process of becoming. All those changes still in front of me, and he is gone, along with so many other stars in the constellation of my San Diego life. My dreams in this city became ghosts. I spent the spring in a dark fog of unknowing what to do about those ghosts. Spent the spring rejected from jobs I was qualified for, undervalued at the job I was overqualified for, lonely and grieving and adrift. Where could I go that would be better than here? And how could I stay with things the way they were? Slowly, time crawls forward. I adopted another dog. I wavered and bitched and made lists and saw a therapist and moaned and made a dream board and felt very sorry for myself and finally made a decision to let the road carry me north towards the cottage on my parents' farm in Eugene, which is available for rent, towards my nieces and my new nephew, towards another chance to decide who I want to be when I grow up. Here's a list incomplete of what I'm looking forward to. Sleepovers with tiny humans. August blackberries. Drinking dark beer in the rain. Nice, like very nice winter gear from REI. Watching my horse graze outside the picture window. Putting myself back on the path to parenthood. A garden. Arriving where I started, to misquote T.S. Eliot, and trying to know the place and myself in another way. Thanks.
That was Jenny Minniti Shippey.